What qualities make someone admirable?
Honestly, if I had to pinpoint one thing, it would be unwavering integrity. Essentially, sticking to your guns even when it's the hard thing to do. I think it's easy to be a saint when everything is going your way, but the real litmus test of character is how you behave when there's no immediate reward for doing the right thing. For instance, I really look up to people who own their mistakes rather than passing the buck, because that kind of transparency is actually quite rare these days. That said, while principles are vital, you also need a bit of pragmatism. Being stubborn just for the sake of it isn't necessarily a virtue.
Do you think society's definition of admirable people has changed?
I'd say we've definitely seen a paradigm shift. We've moved away from the flawless hero and started gravitating toward people who are actually real. In the past, there was this pressure to project a perfect image, but nowadays, people are starving for authenticity and resilience. A great example is how we now celebrate public figures who are open about their mental health struggles, rather than those who act like they're invincible. However, I do wonder if we've gone a bit too far sometimes, occasionally valuing the struggle more than the actual achievement itself.
Are celebrities good role models?
To be fair, it's a bit of a mixed bag. You can't really generalize because the celebrity label is so broad. The issue is that many people are famous for a specific talent, like singing or sports, which doesn't automatically mean they have a solid moral compass. We often see young people getting disillusioned when a star they admire for their vibe ends up making some pretty questionable life choices. On the other hand, those who use their massive platform to champion social causes can be incredibly effective at driving positive change.
Why do young people admire athletes and musicians?
I think it's largely because their success is so immediate and visceral. It's something you can feel. For a teenager, the work of a scientist might feel a bit too abstract, whereas an athlete pulling off a miracle on the field is instantly awe-inspiring. There's a direct line between the dedication they show and the result they get, which is a very powerful narrative for someone still finding their own path. That being said, as people get older, that admiration usually matures into an appreciation for more subtle forms of influence, like leadership or innovation.
Can someone be admirable despite having flaws?
Without a doubt. In fact, I'd argue that flaws are what makes someone relatable and ultimately more inspiring. A perfect role model is actually quite alienating. It's the act of wrestling with your own rough edges that really shows strength of character. Seeing someone work on a short fuse or a selfish streak is far more encouraging than seeing someone who was just born naturally patient. Nevertheless, the admirable part depends on the effort to improve. Having flaws isn't an excuse to just stay stagnant. What makes a leader admirable? Aside from the obvious stuff like being decisive, I think the real secret sauce is intellectual humility. There's this old school myth that a leader has to be all knowing, but a leader who can admit they're wrong actually builds much more genuine trust. For instance, if a CEO encourages their team to poke holes in their ideas, it creates a much healthier, more innovative environment than a top down dictatorship. Mind you, they still need enough assertiveness to steer the ship, or else that humility can be mistaken for indecision.